Hey guys, Dylan here, and today we are doing yet again another Captain's Log. Now, I'm telling you guys ahead of time, this one is going to be a very controversial subject. I know that a lot of people don't want to have these types of conversations at all, period, but it is something that's being brought up a lot, especially in regards to Christian. So, we have to have this discussion. So if you guys don't like talking about gender and you want to hold the notion of if you identify as a gender, then that is what you are, then just hold on to that belief and you can exit off of this video, because today we're being open-minded and we are discussing Christian and if Christian should have their gender respected, if we should respect what Christian chooses to identify as. Now, the reason why we're having this conversation is because this is being brought up in the media a lot. A lot of people are saying you shouldn't misgender Chris. A lot of people are saying that the court is being sexist by saying that Christian should go to a male prison. A lot of people are starting to discuss if it's okay to misgender Chris, because some people are even saying that yes, Christian fucked his mom, but that's no reason to misgender him. And as someone who's actually talked to Christian for a while, I think that this is something that I am at least somewhat knowledgeable of. Now, I've both talked to Chris personally and I've studied Chris for a long time now. And when it comes to gender, it's very complex with Chris. All the way back in Sonichu, you can see that Christian was questioning his gender. Not only does he flat out say in one page that he would rather go through gender reassignment surgery than admit to being gay, but he also created Crystal, who is basically a clone of himself, which he has openly said is a clone of himself, and that she is female. So basically a way for him to project himself as being a woman. Now, if you just looked at that bit of evidence, that would be enough for you to think, yeah, Christian's trans. The evidence is there. He's talked about it for a while. It's been hinted at for years. But there's actually a lot of reasons to doubt Christian being trans. One of such is the fact that he said rather than admitting that he's gay, he would go through gender reassignment surgery so he can be a straight woman. Now, since he's been identifying as a woman, he hasn't really tried to get with any men. It was kind of hinted that he might have gotten a relationship with Sockness if people let him. But as far as I can tell, he didn't get in a relationship with any men, or at least any real men. But it was out there, so that's a reason to doubt his transition. Another reason to doubt his transition is the fact of why he believes that he is trans. Christian is not someone who believes that he is trans as in he accepts that he was born with a hormonal imbalance or he's one person stuck in a different body. Christian thinks that he is the reincarnation of a spirit from the 1970s. And that spirit from the 1970s is him, and it was a female spirit. Now, Christian is also someone who believed that he was the reincarnation of a Cherokee leader, and he believed that Cherokee leader was white. Christian also believes that he is the reincarnation of a goddess and a Sonichu. Christian believes that he is a lot of things, a lot of fictional things. Christian also is one who took on the notion that he was Spanish in some sort or Latino in some sort just because he was learning how to speak Spanish and wanted to change his name to have Ricardo in it because he adopted that name when he was learning Spanish. Christian is someone who's easily influenced, and he's someone who has a very loose grip on reality. When Christian was first going through his transition, if you can say, Christian was just a cross-dresser. And he started cross-dressing by wearing Barb's underwear. Then it turned into him wearing a bra. Then it turned into him wearing women's clothes altogether. And when he was wearing women's clothes, he would call himself a tomgirl. He didn't want to call himself a trans person. He knew what trans people were. He specifically chose to not identify as trans. He even accused other people of being trans before. So Christian was very well aware of what trans people were and chose to not identify as it. He instead chose the label of tomgirl, or nicer put, cross-dresser, but whatever. Christian just decided to not identify as being trans. And he thought that just dressing like a woman was enough. Eventually, later on, but only after talking to internet trolls, Christian started to identify as being trans. Around the same time that Christian started to identify as being trans, he also started saying that he was a goddess. And he also started saying that he was a Sonichu, like an actual Sonichu, like not that fictionally he's a Sonichu. And despite Christian saying that he didn't have superpowers, he is now convinced that yes, he is Sonichu, like he is half Sonichu, and he thinks his father is half Sonichu. So at the same time that Christian came out as being trans, he also came out with a bunch of other shit. But let's move on from that. Let's talk about what Christian thinks being trans is. I already mentioned before that he thinks that he is a ghost from the 1970s, and because he is a ghost from the 1970s that was a woman, now he is trapped in a male's body and he needs to transition. So what's Christian's idea of transitioning? Yes, he does hormone treatment. I don't know if it was always prescribed to him by a doctor or if he just bought it online because you can just do that for some reason. But Christian also thinks that being trans means that you have to go through hypnosis treatment, and hypnosis treatment through YouTube videos. And he thinks that this hypnosis treatment would magically transform him into a woman, like a biological female. He wanted to have ovaries. He wanted to be able to conceive children. This is something that he actually thought was possible. And he wanted this type of thing to happen. He even put it in the comics happening to Robbie Sanchu. So this is something that Christian actually believed in, and this is something that Christian counts as part of his trans experience. While listening to these hypnotic tapes, Christian decided to speed up the process by cutting a hole in his taint because he thought that he was growing a vagina underneath it. Christian does not understand what being trans is. Christian does not understand what trans people go through. There is a good reason why a lot of people in the trans community disown Chris. And if you need any other reason to doubt Christian's legitimacy as a trans person, Christian has been on record saying that the main reason why he wants to be trans, and the main reason why he wants to be a lesbian in particular, is because he thinks that being trans and being lesbian will open up his field to get more women. And the reason why he wanted to keep his dick is because he wanted to be able to fuck said women. So he was only trying to transition and only trying to be more feminine so he could attract lesbians, because the way that he sees it is that if he's lesbian, he opens up a whole nother market of boyfriend-free girls. And he thinks that girls will want to have both a girlfriend and a boyfriend. That is Christian's logic. Christian thought that transitioning would allow him to get with lesbians. And he did try to go after lesbians when he was going through his transition. This did not work. This idea was stupid. But it's Christian coming up with it, so are you even shocked? Another thing I want to point out is, Christian is so far into his own delusions that it even transcends gender in general. Christian thought that cartoon characters were real, and that there was some way for the cartoon characters to come into our reality. This is what he calls the dimensional merge. He has tried to activate the merge for over 3 years now, and he constantly makes excuses to why it didn't happen. Christian thought that he swapped bodies with his fictional character Magi-Chan, and then the next year, he thought that he swapped bodies with his fictional character Sonichu. For Sonichu, Christian pretended to be him for a year. He pretended to be him for months on end on social media, never breaking character. There is good reasons why people doubt that Christian is actually trans. Because if he can pretend to be Sonichu for a year to make people believe that Sonichu actually exists, what stops him from pretending to be a woman for God knows how many years to try to convince people that he is actually a lesbian, so then he can get a boyfriend-free girl. Another thing that Christian has tried to do is fake having mental issues before. Christian tried to pretend like he was going to have amnesia at one point. Christian pretended that he had multiple personalities at one point. And Christian tried to pretend that his past self was trying to take over his mental being. He tried this years ago, and then it failed, and he immediately gave up on the idea. Then after watching Geno Samuel's documentary where he brought it up again, Christian tried it again, where some dumb people on YouTube and Twitter actually humored him. As you can tell by now with this over 10-minute long video, Christian is someone who wants attention. Christian is someone who will fake having mental conditions. Christian is someone who actually believes in the crazy shit that he speaks. And if you need anything else to convince yourself that Christian is 100% delusional and that it doesn't matter, is that Christian thought that he could cure Barbara's aging mind, his old mother. He thought that he could heal her aging mind by giving her hypnotic tapes and making her listen to YouTube videos that would make her young again. He thought that by having sex with her, she would turn younger again, or at least be younger mentally. I don't even have to tell you how dumb of an idea that is. Christian is someone who isn't in touch with reality. When normally people transition, they understand what's going on. They understand that they are someone who was born in a body that they don't feel comfortable in, and they use medical treatment to make their body better fit what they want it to be. Christian is someone who believes that he can harness magical powers to magically turn himself into a biological female. Christian thinks that going through this transition will both prevent him from being gay and allow him to get with lesbians. There is good reason to doubt Christian's gender. There is good reason to not use Christian's pronouns. There is good reason to continue to call Christian a man. Christian has had years and plenty of funds to transition. If Christian wanted to, he could raise the money and people would support him to go through gender reassignment surgery. Christian does not want to lose his penis. Christian wants to keep his dick because he wants to continue fucking women. Christian is a man who cross-dresses and has been convinced that he is trans, both by trolls and by white knights. I choose to call Chris Chris, and I choose to call Chris a he. Maybe you guys have different opinions than me. I know that this is a very divisive topic. Hopefully, I didn't offend too many people out there. I know a lot of people don't like the talk of transgender issues. I know a lot of people didn't want to have this conversation at all. But it's getting brought up a lot, and I don't think it's an issue of transphobia, because I've seen a lot of people in the trans community disown Chris. A lot of people in the trans community are saying don't think Chris represents them, and they're trying to get rid of Chris. And I can't blame them. Every other community has gotten rid of Chris, so I'm not shocked. So I'm wondering what you guys think of this conversation. If you guys think that Christian is a woman, comment down below. I'd love to talk to you about it. And if you think he's a man, then comment that down below too, and I'd love to see what you guys think. I would hope that you guys will be respectful with each other in the comment section. This is the most risky conversation we've had to date, but it's something I feel like we really needed to talk about. I feel like most Christian people won't actually open this Pandora's box, but I'm willing to do that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you like it, hit the like button. If you really like it, then share it. And if you want to see more, then subscribe. I'm going to continue doing these Captain's Log videos until I run out of subjects that I want to talk about. So if you want to see more of these type of videos, then stick around. Thank you guys for watching, and bye.